Well, now we are going to move to our final presentation of the afternoon. So, Shanna, can you turn the camera on and say hello?
Hi everyone.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. So, as you
Absolutely.
pull up your slides, can you give us a self introduction?
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so I hope they definitely didn't save the best for last. I think everyone's presentations have been so insightful today, and I think we probably can all relate to coming from situations where there's not always a lot of women in leadership that we can look to our left and right and try to empathize with. So this has been great. So I have nearly a decade of experience in the advertising, project management, and publishing spheres. My colleagues know me for effective support and dynamic leadership. In my current role as digital campaign director, daily I'm focused on developing operational strategies to increase revenue, drive down overhead costs, and maintain proven efficiencies. Regularly, I leverage affiliate partnerships, email, social, web display, native content, all to build momentum towards digital KPIs or key performance indicators. I've created incredible digital experiences alongside clients such as Ford, Chevron, Volvo, Suzuki, Progressive, Tito's Vodka, the CW Network, a lot of other household names as well. So that's kind of a little bit about my background. I'd like to share my screen now. Okay. And can everyone see my screen?
Yes, just go to slideshow mode and take it away.
Okay, awesome. So, my topic today is wholeness, becoming a more holistic leader. I wanted to dig a little deeper and define it as an examination of a well rounded approach to leadership in today's climate. Okay, I already went over me a little bit. So, I'm here to share what is working and inspire other businesswomen to be great. I hope you enjoy a brief overview of today's topic and it sparks ongoing conversation with our colleagues. I hope to discuss how we define holistic leadership, but also how it's impacted by today's climate specifically. Many of us are living in ambiguous times, working on more challenging tasks with seemingly less time to authentically connect. What does that say for the state of leadership today? So, according to Deloitte's annual Global Human Capital Trends survey, many respondents believe that organizations have new leadership needs. 81% of respondents believe that the ability to lead through more complexity and ambiguity is needed. One in two respondents believe that the ability to manage on a remote basis is now key. 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, that wasn't a challenge facing leadership. Moreover, the 21st century creates a new context for leadership because new technologies, pace of change, changing demos and employee expectations, changing customer expectations, which I'm sure you can all identify with on a personal level. So, what does this all mean? It means that leadership today requires a combination of traditional expectations, new competencies, and holistic approach to fulfill those requirements. So, holistic can be defined as relating to or concerned with wholes or with complete systems rather than with the analysis of, treatment of, or dissection into parts, right? And then leader, this is an easy one. We all live it day to day. A person who has commanding authority or influence. I think that's quite basic, but that's what Merriam-Webster said. Okay, so what's the best way to combine these terms into actionable plans in your own leadership? In my opinion, the simple answer is to just start. Created like a quick acronym that kind of goes deeper into what that means. Study, study yourself first and your team second. I think it's important to know who is leading the team and not just who is on the team. Being able to understand how you react to situations and what environments you find yourself the most productive in all bleed into how you lead your team. Teach in new formats. Continue to challenge yourself to go outside of the norms or even outside of how you were taught to do specific tasks because it's required, as we've seen. Um, And then always be authentic. I think that's one thing that you can't say enough. You can apply this to your personal life as well. I think authenticity in your leadership is something that resonates far more with your team than probably any other trait that you could exemplify. Also, reassess and retry. Something that didn't work a year ago may work now because you now have a different team, or you've learned a new skill, or there is a new format available to teach your team. So things like that, I think reassessing and going back to the drawing board, not consistently always depending on old ways of doing things, if you will. And also take the time. So not only take the time to do STA and R, but take the time to really dive in with your team and understand what they need in a leader. So preserving holistic leadership, I think it's one thing to begin that journey, but I think it's an entirely different discussion to preserve it. So inspire those around you to connect by embodying the traits that you evangelize, the things that you want to see your team embodying. Make sure that you are, of course, doing that first. Awareness, recognizing wins and losses is a great tool that often doesn't take any investment, any bonuses, any new titles, anything like that, in order to really make a difference in a team member's life. Also execute, follow through on goals, rewards, promises. All of those things speak to the kind of leader that you are. And then advocate, garner confidence in your team with constant support. I think support is almost a different term now that we all work remote, or for the most part, we have a mix of hybrid teams. And I think support comes in different ways. I think more than ever, understanding your individual employees or team members, a work-life balance and what that means to them, and creating that sense of support for what it is that they're doing in and outside of work. Also, a 360 view, just exemplify strong opinions loosely held to foster intellectual growth. I think as leaders, we're often held accountable to set a standard or be a bank of knowledge. And I think it's really important that we also take the time to listen to our team. And though we may have strong opinions about what the goal may be ahead of us or what we need from the team, I think that those things could be loosely held if they're influenced properly by our team members, and they're communicated well. So um, this was quite brief. I know. In closing, all the information we've absorbed today is worth considering how it can remold our approach to leadership. As we've risen through the ranks, one thing that will consistently connect us to not only our team but also one another, and the goal to be a holistic leader, is that quest for knowledge. So, with over a century of corporate sector experience amongst the women included in today's summit, I'd like to commend everyone for making time to attend and continue that quest and desire to evolve into the very best version of ourselves. I'll leave everyone with a final quote from First Lady Michelle Obama that I feel grounds my definition of the leadership journey. So, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach continuously toward a better self. The journey doesn't end.
Well, Shanna, thank you so much for that fantastic presentation. Great thoughts as we end our day today. Do you have time for a
Absolutely.
few questions from our audience?
Absolutely.
Well, our first question comes from Sara, and Sara says, "Was there a time when you could not provide holistic leadership, and how did you react, and how did you push through?"
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the most challenged I've been, either than at the very beginning of my leadership journey, trying to figure out what that looks like. I think the most challenged I've been was during the pandemic 2020, when we all reverted to remote work. When I first left the office, my boss at the time said, "Oh, we'll be out of office for 2 weeks at most, and then it'll be business as usual." As you guys know, that was not the case. So I felt incredibly challenged during the first few months of 2020, because I had all of these emotions going on outside of work. Was the world coming to an end? Like what exactly was I going to expect was going to happen next? So that absolutely clouded my judgment as a leader for sure. And I think the way that I overcame that was compartmentalizing being number one. Compartmentalizing has been a huge tool in defining and redefining my leadership day to day. And I think that was probably the biggest. The tool that I found was most effective to overcome and become a more holistic leader, just kind of reverting back to the basics, trusting in my team, and then as a team analyzing how do we move forward. This is not only a conversation that I should lead. I need your feedback. We're in a whole new world. So yes, I think compartmentalizing and communicating to my team about what their direct needs were.
Well, thank you so much. I think we have two more questions from our chat today. And Elizabeth says, has mentoring helped you become the best version of yourself?
Absolutely. I've had some incredible men and women in my life. The first being during my internship as a public relations representative right out of college. The woman who owned the business was named Marie June, and she just had an incredible impact on me. When she was, I believe, 21, she was already working for Microsoft doing copywriting work. And she had led the life that I would dream of, and which led her into starting her own business and taking me under her wing. So her influence on just what I could live up to be had a huge impact on who I am today, along with some of the people that I've met throughout my career as a professional. Just having those people who are willing to invest in me, who recognize me, and who really see the challenges that I face as something that I can overcome with their guidance. So absolutely.
Well, thank you. Well, this will be our last question, and we'll ask you for some final words of wisdom for our viewers today. And
Mhm.
Una says, what was the best lesson you learned from a bad leader? And also giving you a chance to brag, what was a lesson you learned from a project where you knocked it out of the park?
Oh, that's a great feedback. Okay, so one lesson that I learned from a bad leader is how a lack of support can lead to a complete displacement of your team. Okay, not being present, and not just physically present with your team when you're in meetings, when they're sharing their goals, when they're sharing their challenges, when they're sharing their what they've been able to overcome. Not being present enough to actually recognize those things and having your team members feel as though they've been overlooked, I think just breeds just this sense of no one cares about me. And I feel like it's so easy to give that positive feedback, in order to kind of refrain from that kind of behavior from your team. So I feel like that's been that lack of support, that genuine support for your team. I feel is a negative example I've seen in the past. And then something. Can you repeat the second part of the question?
It's a chance for you to brag on yourself. Also, what was a good lesson you learned from a project where you knocked it out of the park?
A good lesson. I think one of the lessons that I constantly try to teach myself over and over again, because I am, as a Capricorn, I'm quite the overachiever. It's definitely something that I just can't run away from. So I feel as though one of the projects that I've worked on, that I've really knocked it out of the park, is a project where I basically was able to create a visual of all of our missed project junctures and put a number next to it. Like, this is how many thousands of dollars that we're missing out on by not hitting these project dates. It's something that no one on the team had done before. Prior to me being in leadership, no one had thought to track, and there was just thousands of dollars in campaigns that were being unexecuted. So I think that was probably one of the biggest projects that I attribute to my success in my current role and my growth in my current role. And I feel the thing that taught me is time management and delegation. There's so much data goes into that account of a report. Okay, I manage digital revenue that ranges between $6 to $9 million annually in ad campaign dollars. So, on a month-to-month basis, you can imagine how many data points there are, how many separate campaign line items, how much revenue is associated. So, at first, I did that project by myself, and I saw other things on my to-do list just sliding to the back of the class, not being done as effectively as they could be done. So through time management and delegation, I began to include other team members in creating this report that really transformed the way that we execute projects at Bonnier. So I feel like, again, I would say time management and delegation has been one of the biggest things that I feel, even in any project, whether it be the one that I just discussed or moving forward, hands down makes such a big difference. So.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, as we wrap for the afternoon, do you have any final words of wisdom for all of our viewers today?
You know what? The other lady said it for me. You guys are amazing. I'm incredibly impressed. I had no idea what to expect of the panelists today, but I'm I'm blown away. So I'm just so thankful to be in the same room as you ladies. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your wonderful time and all your thoughts today. So thank you to all of our speakers today, both our panel members and our keynote speakers, and thank you to all of our viewers as well. Without all of you, these events would not be possible. So until next time, this is Ginger Whatley signing off. Happy New Year, everyone.